the fact that Ben Rice, you even just said, do they want him lead off? Do they want him clean up? They don't want him either spot.
Exactly.
Like, he should be, obviously he's filling in for Rizzo, who is having a bad season, is injured, but Rice should be hitting bottom 3 spots in the order that ideally, and you've got your players, your veteran players, or Volpe and Stanton and those guys there. And that's why the lineup is so top heavy, because it's Soto, it's Judge, and then everyone else, like you said, is below 700 OPS, which is not even league average. Like, they're not getting league average offense out of 7 out of the 9 spots in the order.
Yeah, and that's why the trade deadline is so interesting to me, because, you know, I still have to kind of dive into the offensive guys. I'm always looking at bullpen pieces because I think that's the Yankees' MO, that they're going to go out and find someone that's not necessarily on everyone's radar like they did with Efros a couple of years ago, because they have their likes when it comes to bullpen arms that fit their metrics and their mold. But offensively, you know, who really moves the needle when what the Yankees need is for guys to step up, because this is the roster that Brian Cashman made, and when you have that bed, you got to sleep in it to a certain extent. They need DJ LeMahieu to step up. They need Glaber to step up. Volpe has not been that great this year. It's been a regression in many ways, as much as some of the adjustments you see more of a leadoff potential with how he uses the field and can slap singles. He's not selling out for the home run ball, but to completely be zapped of power and be basically just a defensive shortstop, that's not what you want out of your franchise shortstop.
Especially after we got, just to talk a bit more on Volpe, you know, 3 weeks into the season, you're thinking, okay, here's the all-star caliber offensive player that was advertised in the minor leagues, and that's just not been there since then.
Right. Yeah, it's been a pretty stark regression from that version of him, but now there's no small sample narrative. No. It's been several months, and he's clearly working through that. But, you know, ironically enough, I think the loss of John Birdie was actually pretty significant for this team.
The guy they picked up 12 hours before the season started.
Exactly. But, you know, you look at the numbers since the day after his calf injury, and mind you, he's basically on the brink of coming back, so I think that'll help give them a little more depth and versatility. But third, short, second, and first since the day after Birdie went down. I haven't checked this in a couple days, but when I did recently, it was by far the worst offensive production from those 4 positions in all of baseball. They've had the worst infield in that span. And obviously getting Rice to play first helps because you fix the Rizzo issue at first. But man, I mean, that's not championship caliber. It's certainly in there, and you know that's why we're writing positive stories when LeMahieu has like 4 games in a row where he's starting to hit the ball harder, because that's where we're at. That's what we're looking at with this model right now. Very disappointing season from Torres, who's losing out on tens of millions unless he turns his season around, right? Because this is his walk year, and you wonder how much of an impact that's having on his performance too. So at the end of the day, those guys need to step up to make this offense better. I think that if the infield wasn't this putrid of late, then Verdugo would be kind of in a microscope too, because he's regressed quite a bit. Obviously, he means a lot culturally to this team and the vibes behind the scenes, based on what we see in the clubhouse too. I mean, he's fitting in really well in that sense, but the offense has sulked since, you know, we got the dogs the first couple of weeks of the season, and when he was hitting cleanup and doing really well. So that's 5 plus half of the catcher spot, because Trevino hasn't been hitting too much of late. I've been really impressed with what Austin Wells has done, but you're not going to win a title if you have really only 2 consistent productive pieces in your order, and that's what happened in 2022. And
I mean, at least in 2020, I mean, Glaber was there. You're referring to like Judge and Glaber back in 2022 as the 2 pieces, or you're just saying in general you can't have just 1 or 2 spots in the yeah. No, yeah. I'm totally with you. The infield production has been a huge problem, and Glaber especially. Like you heard Cashman's comments, he seems to be at a loss for why he's not hitting. And I think that when you talk about, oh, what does this team need? It needs a bunch of ifs to happen. That's not a good plan. That ifs can't all go right. Now, they don't need literally all of them to start hitting. They need a few of them to start hitting, but these aren't small sample sizes anymore. DJ LeMahieu has not hit well since he came back from his injury last season, and he especially has not hit for power. Gleyber Torres, I don't know. He seems somewhere between mentally lost and physically injured. Is Rizzo coming back? Who knows? He was terrible when he was here. So, like, and you talk about the catching spot. Trevino's not hitting. He's also a giant liability with the running game.